Jack sat in his small apartment, overlooking the bustling city of Alaron Prime. The neon lights reflected off the towering skyscrapers, giving the streets below a rainbow-like glow. Outside, hovercars zipped past, and the distant hum of spacecraft landing at the orbital station created a rhythm to the night. Jax loved the chaos. It reminded him of why he became a pilot in the first place. Life up here was unpredictable, thrilling, and full of surprises. Yet, on this quiet evening, nothing had prepared him for the message that pinged on his holo screen. Jax, it read. Simple, direct, and mysterious. No subject, no emojis, just his name. Curious. He tapped the screen, and a hollow image of a woman flickered to life. Her face was the first thing he noticed, and not in a superficial way. Faint scars traced delicate patterns across her cheek and jawline, faintly illuminated by soft neon glows embedded in her cybernetic implants. Her eyes, a striking green, met his with a mixture of challenge and curiosity. "I know this might be sudden," she said, her voice calm but confident. "But I want to ask you something in person. Are you willing to meet me?" Jax leaned back in his chair, feeling a mix of hesitation and intrigue. Most people wouldn't admit it, but appearances mattered to them. Society had expectations, but somehow, this woman's scarred, confident, and unafraid made him wonder if maybe, just maybe, the rules didn't apply. "Where do you want to meet?" he finally asked. "There's a zero-gravity cafe in orbit over Alaron. You can't miss it," she replied, and the holo flickered out before he could ask more. The rest of the night passed in a blur. Jax tried to focus on his usual work, tinkering with spacecraft engines, reviewing flight simulations, but his mind kept returning to the image of the woman's scars and her piercing green eyes. He told himself that he shouldn't care, but something in her tone lingered, a quiet challenge that teased his curiosity. The next evening, Jax made his way to the orbital station. The cafe hovered just above the planet's atmosphere, a circular platform of glass and steel. From the outside, it looked like a glowing halo floating in the void of space. He adjusted his jacket and took a deep breath. It wasn't just a date, something about this felt like stepping into the unknown. As he entered, he saw her immediately. She stood near the observation window, her figure outlined by the stars beyond. The scars on her face didn't make her look less beautiful, they gave her an edge, a story, a life of experience. She noticed him, and her lips curved into a small smile. "You made it," she said. Her voice was softer in person, yet carried the same confidence. Jax nodded. "I did. I wasn't sure I would." "Why not?" she asked, tilting her head slightly. He hesitated. How could he explain the mix of curiosity, caution, and fascination he felt? Instead, he simply shrugged. "I guess appearances can be deceiving." Her smile widened, and she stepped closer. "Exactly. Does looks really matter that much to you?" Her question hit him like a jolt of electricity. Most people would have laughed it off or tried to dodge it, but Lyra's gaze demanded honesty. He felt his pulse quicken. I don't know," he admitted finally. "I think people focus too much on what they see, instead of who someone really is." She nodded thoughtfully. "Good answer. But I want to show you something. Not just words, actions." Before he could ask what she meant, the cafe's lights dimmed slightly, and the artificial gravity began to fluctuate. Jax's stomach dropped. In zero gravity, this was unusual and uncomfortable. Lyra grabbed his hand lightly, steadying him, and smiled again. "Relax," she said. "I promise. This isn't dangerous." Yet, they floated together toward a small observation deck that extended beyond the main platform. Outside, the planet's surface glimmered with cities, forests, and oceans. Jax tried to focus on the view, but he couldn't ignore the quiet strength radiating from Lyra. Each scar on her face seemed like a badge of survival, a reminder that life could throw anything at her, and she would still stand tall. "Why did you ask me out?" he finally asked, breaking the silence. Lyra laughed softly. "Because people assume I'm fragile." Because they see my scars and think I'm weak. I wanted to see if someone could look past that. You pilots always notice the details. I wondered if you would notice me for more than my appearance. Jax felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had spent years flying through dangerous missions, dodging meteoroids, and surviving hostile planets. He thought he knew what courage looked like, but Lyra was a living testament to a different kind of bravery. She had survived life's worst, and yet here she was, asking him to see her as she truly was. "I see you," he said simply. Her eyes shone with something unspoken. And for a moment, the hum of the station, the glow of the city, and the soft artificial gravity faded into nothing. It was just the two of them, suspended above a world that seemed impossibly small and fragile beneath them. Then, a sudden alarm echoed through the cafe. Red lights flashed, and a voice announced, "Cargo freighter under attack. AI drones are hostile. Immediate assistance required." Jax's heart sank. He was trained for danger, but this was unexpected. Lyra's expression didn't falter. Instead, she reached for a small device strapped to her wrist. A holographic map of the nearby freighter flickered to life. "We need to go," she said calmly. "Lives are at stake." Jax blinked. "Wait. You knew about this? This was part of the plan?" Lyra shook her head. "No. But I'm not going to let innocent people get hurt. I hope you're ready for a real test of character." "Pilot." He didn't hesitate. With a nod, he followed her. The cafe's exit led directly to docking pods. In moments, they were strapped into a small vessel, heading toward the freighter, under attack. The city below faded into a blur of lights, and the stars above seemed sharper, colder, and infinitely vast. As they approached the freighter, Jax realized something profound. The woman beside him, scarred and bold, was fearless in the face of danger. His previous thoughts about appearances felt trivial. What mattered now was courage, intelligence, and trust. "Ready?" Lyra asked, checking their systems. Jax took a deep breath, gripping the controls. "Let's do this." In that instant, floating above the planet, racing toward an unknown threat, he understood something he had never admitted to himself. Humans were capable of extraordinary things. And sometimes, those who had endured the most, those with visible scars or hidden wounds, were the ones who shone brightest. As the freighter came into view, surrounded by rogue AI drones, Jax and Lyra prepared to enter a fight that would test every skill, every instinct, and every ounce of bravery they possessed. But in that quiet moment before the storm, suspended in the infinite black, he found himself asking quietly, "Does looks really matter that much?" And for the first time, he realized the answer was simple. No. Not at all. The freighter loomed ahead like a dark fortress floating in space. Its metal hull was scratched and dented, with sections sparking from recent impacts. Rogue AI drones swarmed around it, small and fast, moving with mechanical precision. Their red sensors glowed, scanning for any human presence. Jax tightened his grip on the controls, his knuckles white. Beside him, Lyra worked with calm efficiency, tapping commands into her wrist device. Holomaps of the freighter flashed between them, showing drone positions and entry points. "Looks worse than I imagined," Jax muttered. Lyra shook her head, her eyes scanning the holographic display. "Don't underestimate it. But we're not just any humans, Jax. Remember that." He swallowed, feeling the weight of the situation. For a moment, the neon lights of Alaron and the city below seemed far away. Here, in the blackness of space, it was just him, Lyra, and a freighter under siege. And yet, strangely, he felt a surge of confidence. She made him feel capable, focused, and alive. "Ready to dock?" Lyra asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," Jax replied. The docking procedure was delicate. The freighter's airlock had been damaged, and rogue drones patrolled its exterior. Jax maneuvered their vessel with precision, dodging laser bursts and thrumming metallic limbs. Lyra's eyes never left the holographic map, guiding him toward the safest point of entry. Finally, they docked. The airlock opened with a hiss, and they floated inside, magnetic boots engaging as they stepped onto the freighter's interior. The first thing Jax noticed was the eerie silence. The usual hum of machinery was interrupted by the faint whir of drones and the occasional electrical spark. "Stay close," Lyra whispered. "We don't know how many drones are inside." Jax nodded, his heart racing. He followed her through narrow corridors lined with exposed wires and broken panels. Every turn brought new tension. They had no idea what they would face or where the survivors were, but Lyra moved with such confidence, her scars catching the dim light of the corridor, that he couldn't help but trust her instincts. Suddenly, a drone appeared around a corner, its red sensor glowing. Lyra reacted instantly, using a small device to emit an electromagnetic pulse. The drone convulsed and fell to the ground. Sparking, Jax's jaw dropped. "How did you do that?" he asked. Lyra smirked. "Years of practice. My scars aren't just cosmetic. They're reminders of what I've survived and tools I've learned to use." Jax was impressed. Each scar told a story, and each story made her stronger, sharper, and more capable. He realized that she wasn't someone to be underestimated. Not at all. They continued through the freighter, encountering more drones and obstacles. Some doors were blocked, others rigged with traps. Lyra navigated everything with ease, guiding Jax through the maze. At one point, they reached a storage room where a small group of colonists was trapped. Their eyes widened at the sight of the two humans, and a child cried out in fear. "Don't worry," Lyra said softly, kneeling to the child's level. "We're here to help." Jax helped unlock the damaged door, and they guided the colonists into a safer section of the freighter. The gratitude in the survivors' eyes struck him. This was what mattered, the lives they could save. The courage to face impossible odds. Looks, appearances, rumors, they meant nothing here. "Why do you do this?" Jax asked Lyra quietly as they moved on. "Because someone has to," she replied simply. "Because fear doesn't solve anything. And because surviving once isn't enough. You have to keep fighting. Keep helping." Her words lingered in his mind. She wasn't asking for recognition or validation. She was doing what humans were best at, adapting, overcoming, and protecting each other. He felt a swell of respect, admiration, and something deeper he hadn't expected. As they moved deeper into the freighter, the drone attacks became more intense. They had to dodge automated turrets and avoid collapsing ceilings. Jax's heart pounded in his chest. But he noticed something about Lyra. Her calmness never wavered, even when sparks flew past her, when a drone nearly grazed her arm. She didn't panic. She smiled, almost enjoying the challenge. "Teaching me a thing or two?" Jax asked, dodging a laser beam. "Always," Lyra replied, laughing softly. "You're learning fast, though. Not bad for a pilot." They reached the freighter's control room, the central hub where the rogue AI seemed to originate. A massive screen displayed chaotic patterns, drones moving in synchronized attacks, and systems failing. Lyra tapped rapidly on her wrist device, hacking into the freighter's systems. "Here's where it gets tricky," she muttered. "We need to shut down the AI core manually." "There's no automatic override," Jax swallowed. He had faced dangerous missions before, but this felt personal. The freighter's AI was relentless, the drones relentless. And yet, he felt a strange comfort. Lyra had guided him here, trusted him, and in turn, he trusted her. Together, they could face anything. The AI core room was dark, lit only by flashing warning lights. Drones patrolled every corner, and the hum of electricity made the air tense. Lyra handed Jax a small device. "You'll disable the energy field while I handle the main console. We'll have to move fast." Jax nodded, taking a deep breath. He focused, remembering all his training, all the times he had flown through impossible missions. But this wasn't just about skill, it was about courage, trust, and using every resource at hand. He activated the device, moving with careful precision, while Lyra hacked the AI. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and drones closed in. Jax felt the fear gnawing at him, but he pushed it aside. He could do this. Humans could do this. Finally, with a final command, Lyra shut down the AI core. The drones froze, then powered down. Silence returned to the freighter, broken only by the heavy breaths of humans who had faced death and survived. Jax looked at Lyra, awe and admiration written across his face. You were incredible." Lyra shook her head, smiling faintly. "We were incredible." Together, for a moment, they stood there, surrounded by the quiet aftermath of chaos. Jax realized something profound. Lyra's scars, once a mark of pain, were now a symbol of survival, strength, and resilience. Her appearance didn't define her. Her actions did. As they escorted the colonists to a safe escape pod, Jax felt a shift in his perspective. Humans were remarkable. They could adapt, overcome, and rise above every challenge. And sometimes, those who had endured the most, those with scars, with stories etched into their very being, were the ones who shone brightest. "Does looks really matter that much?" Lyra asked quietly, echoing the question from their first meeting. Jax shook his head. "Not at all." Lyra's smile softened, a mixture of relief and satisfaction. "Good. Because if you're going to survive in this universe, you need to see beyond appearances. You need to see strength where others see weakness." Jax nodded, understanding the truth in her words. This mission wasn't just about rescuing colonists, it was a lesson in human potential, in bravery, in teamwork, and in seeing the real value of people beyond what meets the eye. As they returned to their ship and set course back for Alaron, the stars stretched infinitely before them. Jax glanced at Lyra, her scars faintly glowing under the ship's lights. They weren't marks of imperfection, they were proof of life survived, of battles won, and of courage that refused to fade. And Jax realized that he had learned something even more important than piloting a ship or surviving a dangerous mission. He had learned what it truly meant to be human, to fight, to protect, to persevere, and to see the extraordinary in those who others might overlook. For the first time, floating through the endless black, racing past stars and planets, Jax felt a connection deeper than curiosity. He felt respect, admiration, and something that quietly blossomed into hope. Humanity had an edge in the universe, and standing beside Lyra, he understood why. Humans could endure. Humans could adapt. Humans could rise. And sometimes, it took someone scarred, bold, and fearless to remind the world of that truth. The city of Alaron Prime was alive with its usual neon glow as Jax and Lyra returned from the freighter mission. The orbital shuttle docked smoothly at the station, and the hum of engines and distant chatter of passengers made the place feel ordinary again. Yet for Jax, nothing felt ordinary. Lyra moved beside him, her steps confident despite the faint ache in her muscles from the rescue. Jax noticed the way she carried herself, the scars on her face, softly illuminated by the station lights, no longer felt like marks of weakness. They were symbols of survival, bravery, and quiet strength. "You were amazing back there," Jax said quietly as they walked through the crowded concourse. Lyra shrugged, a small smile tugging at her lips. "I didn't do it for praise. I did it because it had to be done." Jax nodded, understanding. But even as they exited the station, he sensed a shift in the air. Screens on the walls flashed news feeds of the mission, but the headlines were different. "Scarred woman leads dangerous mission, questionable hero or risk to safety." Jax froze, reading the words again. The article highlighted Lyra's scars almost more than her heroism. It suggested that people with visible imperfections were unpredictable, unfit for high-risk tasks, and potentially dangerous. Lyra noticed his pause and glanced at him. "Welcome to public opinion," she said lightly, but her voice carried a faint edge of sadness. Jax frowned. "This isn't fair. You saved lives." Lyra waved him off. "I know. And that's enough." People will always judge what they don't understand. Scarred or not, brave or not, they see what they want to see. They walked in silence for a while, the neon lights reflecting off Lyra's faintly glowing implants. Jax kept thinking about the headlines. The words meant to demean and belittle. He realized that society often valued perfection over courage, appearances over actions. And here was Lyra, who had done more in one mission than most would ever do in a lifetime. Yet she was judged for her scars. "Does it ever bother you?" he asked softly. Lyra shook her head. "It did. Once. A long time ago. But I learned that people's opinions don't define me. What matters is what I do, who I help, and how I face challenges. Scarred or flawless, every choice I make defines me more than anyone else's judgment." Jax felt a mix of admiration and guilt. He had been impressed by her before, yes, but now he saw the deeper courage. The courage to face not only physical danger but societal prejudice. He realized that this was a fight most people would never understand. Surviving life, standing strong, and refusing to let bias define you. The station's automated trams hummed past them as they reached a quieter section. Lyra paused and looked at him. "You think differently now, don't you?" "I do," Jax admitted. I don't know. I used to judge by appearances. But you make me question that." Lyra's smile softened, a mixture of gratitude and understanding. "That's the point. Seeing someone for who they really are. That's the first step in surviving in this universe. Looks are nothing when compared to what someone is capable of." As they continued walking, a group of passengers stared at Lyra. Whispers floated in the air. "Did you see her face? She's different. Would you trust her?" Jax noticed their glances and felt a surge of protectiveness. He understood what Lyra faced every day. People who judged without knowing, who valued appearance over ability. He wanted to defend her, but he realized that her strength was not just in her actions but in her ability to face prejudice without flinching. "Let them talk," Lyra said quietly, sensing his tension. "Their opinions won't change who I am. And they won't change what humans are capable of." Jax nodded, trying to internalize her words. She was right. Humans had survived the impossible plagues, wars, hostile planets, rogue AI attacks. Judgments about appearances were trivial in comparison to the feats of courage, ingenuity, and resilience humans could achieve. They reached Lyra's apartment, a small but cozy space filled with books, technical schematics, and holographic displays. She invited Jax in, offering him a seat near the observation window. The city lights reflected in the glass, painting both of them in soft, shifting colors. "I want to show you something," Lyra said, activating a holographic display. The freighter mission replayed in meticulous detail, showing every move they had made, every drone they had avoided, every colonist they had rescued. Jax watched in awe, realizing how calculated and brave each decision had been. Lyra's scars, he now saw, were not imperfections but reminders of lessons learned, battles fought, and lives saved. "You see all this?" she asked, gesturing to the holograms. "None of this would matter if I had let fear of judgment stop me. If I let people's opinions about my scars decide what I could do. Humans survive by looking beyond surface appearances and focusing on what really matters. Action, courage, and ingenuity." Jax nodded, speechless. He realized that Lyra wasn't just teaching him about her life. She was teaching him about humanity itself. She was showing him that true strength was not in perfection but in resilience, intelligence, and heart. The conversation shifted naturally, moving from mission details to personal stories. Lyra shared moments from her past accidents that left her scars, missions that tested her limits, and choices that had forced her to grow stronger. Jax listened, captivated not just by her bravery but by her honesty and humanity. "You've been through so much," he said finally. "And yet, you face it all without hesitation." Lyra's eyes softened. "Because hesitation wastes time. Survival isn't about perfection, it's about courage. And sometimes, the most obvious lesson is hidden behind scars, failure, and challenges. Jax thought about the headlines again, about the whispers and stares in the station. He realized how small those judgments were compared to the reality of human potential. The world often focused on what was visible, forgetting the invisible strength that allowed people to endure, adapt, and overcome. Hours passed, and the city outside slowly shifted from neon night to early dawn. Jax felt a deep respect growing inside him, not just for Lyra, but for the human spirit she embodied. Scars, appearances, prejudice, they were nothing compared to bravery, ingenuity, and compassion. Finally, Lyra stood, walking to the window. The first light of the sun reflected off the city, and she looked almost ethereal. "You see now," she said softly, "humans are capable of extraordinary things, even when others doubt them. And the people who survive, the ones who matter, are the ones who focus on strength, courage, and heart, not appearance." Jax moved closer, standing beside her. "I see it. I understand now. You've taught me more in one mission than I've learned in years of training." Lyra smiled faintly. "Good. Because the universe is full of challenges, Jax. And surviving them doesn't depend on how perfect you look. It depends on how brave you are, how quick you think, and how willing you are to act." They stood in silence, watching the city awaken below them. Jax realized that the lesson extended beyond this mission, beyond Lyra, beyond themselves. Humans, scarred, flawed, and imperfect, were capable of greatness. Their courage, intelligence, and adaptability gave them an edge no other species could match. "Does looks really matter that much?" Lyra asked again, echoing the question that had started it all. Jax looked at her scars, her glowing implants, her confident eyes. He smiled, finally understanding the truth. "No, not at all." Her smile deepened, a quiet satisfaction in her eyes. "Good, because that lesson is more important than any mission or any danger out there. If you see the universe like that, Jax, you'll survive, and maybe even thrive." For the first time, Jax truly believed it. He believed in human resilience, in bravery, and in the strength that lay hidden beneath appearances. He believed in Lyra not just as a pilot, a rescuer, or a scarred woman, but as a symbol of what humans could accomplish when they refused to let fear or prejudice define them. As the sun rose over Alaron Prime, bathing the city in warm light, Jax realized something profound. The edge humans had over the universe wasn't just technology, weapons, or ships. It was courage, heart, and the refusal to be limited by what others thought. And standing beside Lyra, he felt that edge more than ever. Humans could survive, humans could endure, humans could rise above any challenge. And those who had faced adversity, those scarred, bold, fearless souls, were the ones who would lead the way. Jax knew that the universe was vast and full of danger, but for the first time, he felt ready. Not because he had a perfect record, a flawless plan, or even flawless people around him, but because he had seen true courage in action. And he knew that as long as humans kept fighting, adapting, and believing in each other, nothing could stop them. Lyra turned to him, her eyes sparkling with a mix of challenge and warmth. "Ready for the next mission?" Jax smiled. "I'm ready. With you, I think we can face anything." Cliv. And together, they looked out over the city, their hearts steady, their minds sharp, and their spirits ready for the trials that awaited them in the vast, unpredictable universe. The shuttle hummed as it cut through the dark expanse of space. Jax sat in the pilot's seat, fingers lightly resting on the controls, while Lyra checked their mission display beside him. The planet below was jagged, alien, and inhospitable. Volcanoes dotted its surface, and storms swirled in endless cycles of fire and lightning. Their mission was clear. A human research outpost had sent a distress signal. An alien species, technologically superior and unknown, had attacked, leaving the colony trapped and systems failing. "This doesn't look promising," Jax said, his voice tense. Lyra shook her head. It never does. But humans have a habit of thriving where others fail. Jax chuckled softly. You really believe that? Lyra's eyes sparkled with determination. I don't just believe it. I've seen it. Humans survive because we adapt, because we think, and because we refuse to quit, even when everything is against us. He nodded, feeling that surge of confidence again. There was something contagious about her certainty. Her scars, once rumored to be weaknesses, now felt like badges of experience and resilience. They weren't imperfections, they were proof that a human could survive the impossible. The shuttle broke through the atmosphere, entering the planet's thick, stormy clouds. Lightning arced around them, making the vessel shudder, but Lyra's hands were steady as she guided them toward the research outpost. When they landed, the scene was chaotic. Buildings were damaged. Some collapsed entirely. Alien drones, sleek, metallic, and faster than anything humans had designed, patrolled the perimeter. Jax's mind raced. They were outmatched in technology, outnumbered in force, but he remembered Lyra's words. Humans thrived by thinking, not by sheer strength. Step 1, Lyra whispered, pointing to a damaged communications tower. We restore their connection to the shuttle and call for the strike team. Step 2, draw their attention away from the colonists. Step 3, improvise the rest. Jax raised an eyebrow. Improvise? Lyra grinned. Humans are best at that. Watch and learn. They moved cautiously, using shadows and debris for cover. Lyra's implants glowed faintly, scanning the environment and mapping the drone's patrol routes. Every movement she made was precise, calculated, and efficient. Jax couldn't help but marvel at her ability to remain calm under pressure. Her scars, illuminated by the storm, seemed to reflect her determination. They were reminders of past victories, and the reason she moved with such confidence. When they reached the communication tower, Jax set up the device Lyra handed him. Sparks flew as he connected power sources and rerouted circuits. The alien drones detected the interference immediately and swarmed toward their location. Ready? Lyra asked, her eyes flicking between the approaching drones and Jax's progress. As ready as I'll ever be, he replied. Lyra's fingers danced across her wrist device, emitting pulses that disrupted the drone's navigation. They staggered and collided with one another, giving Jax the precious seconds he needed. He completed the connection, and a secure link to the shuttle's strike team activated. Good, Lyra said, a faint smile appearing. Now the fun begins. Using the improvised cover of their own systems, they drew the drones into a series of traps. Jax flew over damaged buildings, triggering remote devices Lyra had set. Explosions of light and sound disoriented the alien machines, while humans inside the outpost used the confusion to escape to safer zones. Every move required teamwork, communication, and adaptability, the very essence of human ingenuity. At one point, a drone nearly struck Jax's shuttle, its metallic limbs snapping dangerously close. Lyra reached out. Pressing a button on his control panel, the drone's movement halted for a split second, enough for Jax to maneuver out of danger. You saved me, he exclaimed, heart pounding. Lyra smirked. We save each other. That's what humans do. They continued, moving closer to the colony's central hub. The aliens were relentless, adaptive, and intelligent. But so were Jax and Lyra. They used debris, shadows, and even the storm itself to their advantage. The drones didn't anticipate human creativity, the ability to turn disadvantage into strategy. Finally, they reached the main hub. The colonists were trapped inside a reinforced chamber, and the aliens had surrounded the entrance. Lyra surveyed the situation and whispered, "This is the test." Jax swallowed. Every nerve in his body was alert, every instinct screaming danger. But then he looked at Lyra, her calm eyes, her scars glowing softly, her posture unwavering. If anyone could lead them through this, it was her. Ready? She asked. As I'll ever be, Jax replied, feeling a newfound confidence. Lyra activated a series of holographic decoys, confusing the alien drones. Jax guided the colonists through the side corridors, using his piloting skills to navigate narrow passages and avoid patrols. Lyra stayed behind, controlling the drone's attention, her actions precise and fearless. The operation was tense, chaotic, and dangerous, but every obstacle reinforced a single truth. Humans thrived under pressure, while the aliens relied on speed, strength, and raw technology. Humans used creativity, adaptability, and courage. When the last colonist reached safety, Jax looked back. Lyra was facing the final wave of drones alone, her devices pulsing and lights flashing. He expected fear but saw none. Instead, he saw a human who had learned to survive every challenge, every attack, every setback, and who now wielded that experience as power. Jax joined her, coordinating their final maneuvers. Together, they executed a brilliant plan, drawing the aliens into a trap that incapacitated their drones completely. The storm above them raged, but the humans had turned every element to their advantage. Finally, the dust settled. The colony was safe, the aliens temporarily neutralized, and the human team emerged victorious. Jax breathed deeply, looking at Lyra. You were incredible," he said. Lyra shook her head. "We were incredible." Together, for the first time, Jax realized that the edge humans had over the universe wasn't weapons or ships, it was ingenuity, adaptability, courage, and heart. Lyra's scars weren't marks of weakness, they were reminders of survival, of lessons learned, of battles fought and won. They were proof that humans could endure, overcome, and thrive where others might fail. The colonists cheered, grateful and amazed at what two humans had accomplished. But Jax and Lyra didn't celebrate, yet they knew the universe was vast, unpredictable, and full of challenges far beyond this mission. As they prepared to leave, Lyra turned to Jax. "Do you see now? This is what humans can do. We survive, adapt, and rise, no matter the odds. That's our edge." Jax nodded, finally understanding. The mission had been more than a rescue, it had been a demonstration of human potential. Scars, flaws, and imperfections didn't matter. What mattered was bravery, creativity, and the refusal to give up. Back aboard their shuttle, Jax piloted them away from the planet, looking at the stars stretching infinitely ahead. He felt a deep pride, not just in their mission, but in humanity itself. Lyra's words echoed in his mind. Humans could survive. Humans could adapt. Humans could rise. Lyra sat beside him, quiet for a moment, then said softly, "Remember, Jax, this universe will test us in ways we can't imagine, but if we trust each other, if we use our minds, our hearts, and our courage, we'll thrive." Jax looked at her scars again, the soft glow reflecting the shuttle's lights. He smiled. They weren't imperfections. They were proof of life survived, of strength earned, of humanity's edge in the universe. "Yes," he said quietly, "we'll thrive." As the shuttle accelerated into the black expanse, leaving the stormy planet behind, Jax realized something profound. Humans didn't need perfection to survive. They didn't need to look flawless or follow society's expectations. All they needed was courage, intelligence, creativity, and heart. And standing beside Lyra, scarred, brave, and unyielding, he knew that humans had that edge, and it would carry them through any challenge the universe could throw their way. For the first time, floating among the stars, Jax felt a quiet certainty. The universe was vast and dangerous, but humans, scarred and imperfect though they might be, had something no alien species could match: the will to endure, the creativity to adapt, and the courage to rise. Lyra turned to him, her eyes sparkling with determination and warmth. "Ready for what comes next?" Jax smiled, feeling a surge of confidence. "I'm ready. With you, I know we can face anything." And together, they looked out at the stars, hearts steady, minds sharp, and spirits unbreakable, ready to take on the endless challenges that awaited humanity in the vast, unpredictable universe. Back on Alaron Prime, the city shimmered under the neon glow of evening lights. The shuttle touched down smoothly, and Jax and Lyra stepped onto the station platform. Weary, but alive. The missions had tested them in ways few humans could imagine, yet here they were standing tall, victorious, and unbroken. Jax glanced at Lyra. Her scars, faintly glowing under the station lights, no longer felt like marks of imperfection. If anything, they symbolized resilience, courage, and an unyielding spirit. Every line, every curve of her scars told a story of survival and triumph. "You know," Jax said, breaking the silence, "I've never seen someone move through danger like you. You don't just survive. You inspire." Lyra smiled faintly. Inspiration isn't about perfection. It's about heart, courage, and persistence. That's what humans have. Jax, that's what makes us strong. He nodded, thinking of the freighter, the alien planet, and every challenge they had faced together. What struck him most wasn't their victories. It was the way humanity, imperfect and scarred, could rise above every obstacle. Appearance didn't matter. Strength did. Courage did. Ingenuity did. They walked through the bustling station, passing crowds of humans and aliens alike. Some paused to glance at Lyra, curiosity flickering in their eyes. But Jax noticed she didn't flinch. She moved with the confidence of someone who had faced judgment countless times and emerged stronger each time. "Does it ever get tiring?" he asked quietly. "Facing people's opinions? Their judgments?" Lyra paused, looking up at the city lights reflecting in the station's glass. "It did, once. But I realized that people's opinions don't define me, only my actions do. And if you measure humans by what they do, their courage, their resilience, their creativity, then no scars, no flaws, no judgments matter at all." 47. Jax felt a swell of admiration. Her words echoed the lessons of their missions, the moments when survival depended not on strength alone but on ingenuity, trust, and human determination. He realized that Lyra was a living example of what humans could achieve when they embraced their imperfections and focused on their strengths. They arrived at a quiet observation deck, overlooking the city. Below, hovercars zipped past, and the streets glimmered with neon lights. It was peaceful now, a stark contrast to the chaos they had faced. Lyra leaned against the railing, her gaze distant, but thoughtful. "Do you ever think about how people see us?" Jax asked, his voice soft. Lyra shook her head. "Not anymore. I used to. But after everything, I've learned that what matters isn't what they see, it's what we do. Humans survive and thrive not by fitting their expectations, but by being bold, clever, and unafraid." Jax looked at her scars again, feeling a sense of awe. Each mark, once rumored to be a weakness, now seemed like a badge of honor, a testament to battles faced and victories earned. He realized that the universe wasn't a place for perfection. It was a place for courage, adaptability, and heart. "You've taught me so much," he said finally. "Not just about survival, but about humanity. About seeing strength where others might see weakness." Lyra smiled faintly. "That's the lesson. Humans don't need to look perfect. We just need to act, to endure, and to rise above every challenge." For a long moment, they stood in silence, watching the city glow below them. Jax reflected on everything they had faced: the freighter, the alien planet, the judgments, the danger, and he realized something profound. Humans weren't defined by appearances or societal expectations. They were defined by their courage, their ingenuity, and their willingness to act when it mattered most. Lyra turned to him, her eyes soft but determined. "Do you see it now, Jax? True strength isn't about looking flawless. It's about standing tall, even when the universe tries to break you. And humans, we are the best at that." Jax nodded. "I see it. I understand it. You've shown me that humans are stronger than anyone gives them credit for. That our edge is not in technology or weapons, but in our minds, our hearts, and our courage." She reached out, lightly touching his arm. "Exactly. And it's not just me. Every human has that potential. Every scar, every mistake, every challenge is an opportunity to grow, to become stronger, to prove what we are capable of. Jax felt a quiet pride swelling in his chest. Humanity had faced countless challenges, and yet here they were, surviving, thriving, and standing taller than any obstacle. Lyra's scars were a reminder that strength was not perfection, but resilience and courage in action. The observation deck was quiet now, a peaceful pause after the chaos. Jax realized that their missions had not only saved lives but had also taught them something essential. That humans, scarred and imperfect though they might be, had an edge no other species could match. "You're amazing, Lyra," he said softly. "Not just for what you did out there, but for who you are. Your scars, they're part of your strength." She looked at him, her gaze steady and warm. "And you've learned to see that. That's what matters. Humans are defined by what we do, not by how we look. Remember that." Jax nodded, feeling a deep certainty. The universe was vast and unpredictable. But humans had something special, something no alien technology could replicate. Courage, creativity, resilience, and heart. And standing beside Lyra, he knew that humans would continue to rise, no matter what challenges lay ahead. "Ready for the next adventure?" Lyra asked, her voice playful yet firm. Jax smiled, feeling a spark of excitement and confidence. "I'm ready. With you, I think we can face anything." They stood side by side, looking out over the glowing city, the stars twinkling above. The universe was immense, full of danger, mystery, and opportunity. But for the first time, Jax felt an unwavering certainty. Humans, with their courage, ingenuity, and heart, could face it all and thrive. Lyra's scars glowed faintly in the light, a soft reminder of every challenge faced, every life saved, and every victory earned. They were marks of survival, strength, and the human spirit itself. Jax realized something profound. Humans didn't need perfection to achieve greatness. They didn't need to conform to societal expectations. What mattered was courage, resilience, and the willingness to act when it counted. And in that moment, he understood fully why humanity thrived in a universe full of danger and uncertainty. It wasn't technology or strategy alone. It was heart. It was courage. It was the unbreakable will to rise above every challenge. And sometimes, it was people like Lyra, scarred but fearless, who reminded the universe just how extraordinary humans could be. "Thank you," Jax said quietly, turning to her. "For what?" Lyra asked, raising an eyebrow. "For showing me what it truly means to be human," he replied. Lyra's smile softened, genuine and warm. "Then you've learned the most important lesson of all. Humans survive, adapt, and thrive, not by appearances, but by courage, ingenuity, and heart." The city lights reflected in the glass, casting a soft glow over them. Jax felt a sense of hope, pride, and determination, unlike anything he had known before. Humans had faced impossible odds, survived unimaginable danger, and still risen above it all. And standing beside Lyra, he knew the best was yet to come. The stars stretched infinitely above them. And Jax felt ready. Ready to face the universe. Ready to embrace every challenge. And ready to prove, alongside Lyra, that humanity's edge was unstoppable. And as they stood together, watching the city below and the stars above, Jax finally answered the question Lyra had asked him long ago. "Does looks really matter that much?" "No," he whispered, a smile spreading across his face. "Not at all." Lyra's eyes sparkled, a mix of pride and warmth. "Good. Because humans scarred, bold, and unyielding are capable of anything." And with that, they turned to the future. Hearts steady, minds sharp, and spirits unbreakable, ready to face whatever the vast, unpredictable universe had in store for them.